Hello everybody, welcome back. We are here to review the Star Melody Nanocore that is currently out right now. I have gotten my hands on a few of these. The main one in particular that I was most interested in is the one for the Shanghai. And as you can see, I do have it here. It's got some wonderful animations and some questionable art. But wonderful animations nonetheless. It's actually a really nice looking Nanocore. Really nice. It is also probably one of the best, if not the best, PvE nanocores in the game currently. This core easily stands toe to toe with thermomagnetic storm core, um, and in some cases, stands well above, and I do mean well above, the thermomagnetic storm core. So let's get into it. As you can see, I've got it on my Shanghai here. We're going to review on this one and talk about some of the changes as we go here, because there's a lot of little things to cover with this. As you can see here in the fitting screen, it still has all of its animations and its glory. Let's go ahead and get into the Nanocore itself. Alright, first things first, you have a few different options here on the Shanghai. You have Star Melody, Star activation thing. Very nice. Um, this is a very important part of this nanocore that we will cover a little bit later. But what this does is it emits a damaging burst around your ship for and activates every 3 seconds for about 30 seconds. So you get about 10 activations or so out of it in one cycle, and then you'll have a 300-second downtime on the capital ship. I don't know if that's the same for the smaller ships. Um, and it will deal a damage every 3 seconds during that activation time. We'll get a little bit more into the stats a little bit later once we're done covering the Nanocore itself. The next choice here is Light Fighter Damage and then Shield percent. Light Fighter Damage is 19.2%, Shield is 24%. Your first stat here is Shield up to 9.75%. You have Warp Stability up to 3. You have Capacitor up to 9.75%. Your second upgrade here is Light Fighter EM, Light Fighter Thermal, Light Fighter Kinetic, and Light Fighter Explosive. So all of these stats are going to be very similar across every ship in the game. It's always going to be some kind of warp stability with shield or armor and capacitor. It's always going to be the elemental damages. It's always going to be like your capacitor, your warp stability, and your shield or armor. It's always going to be your elemental damages. So all of these are kind of the same across the board. All of the elemental damages are 10.5%, unless you are in a rattlesnake, a drone boat, or the Raven. Um, the Raven has its own stats. I believe it's 19% to the elemental damage choice, and then the Rattlesnake has like a 32% increase. It's actually insane. We'll get a little bit more into that. I'll showcase that in a little bit. Okay, and then, like I said, you've got more warp stability, more capacitor, more shield. You've got 12% to your elemental damages. You have Scan resolution plus 12.3%, shield booster mount plus 13.5%, and light fighter explosion velocity plus 12.3%. This is a very good PvE nanocore, and it could be used in PvP as well, but to a lesser extent. And your last upgrade is more elemental damages. This is easily the most DPS heavy nanocore we've seen in a long time, and it stands toe-to-toe currently with Thermomagnetic Stormcore until you start getting into this activatable mode. If you only choose the light fighter damage, it is still going to equal with the Thermomagnetic Stormcore, and I'm only saying that right now because as it sits, this core does not get a gold core upgrade. So until we actually have access to the gold core upgrade for the Melody Nanocore, we will have to see how that goes. Currently as well, the turning off effects of the current Nanocore does not actually work. Even if I have it off, it will still be on. When I have this turned off, it is still on. So that is one questionable thing with this Nanocore. I don't always want the interesting anime girl floating atop my ship, however menacing it may be. The actual changes to the Nanocore itself are pretty good. You'll see here on the back end, you can change quite a bit on the back end of that ship. So we're just going to go with a blue there. This second area is this whole middle area that kind of fades in with the front section. It's got a very nice variety of colors. I actually really like this kind of cyan color. This area here is kind of that front section. Let me flip it around here. Here we go. You can see it kind of changes that whole front section here, and it has this nice pattern going across it. And this one here, it changes the pattern on the front corner here. So it's a little harder to notice here, but let's drop everything to full darkness, and you can see here that pattern starting to really show up quite well. It's sort of like a polka dot pattern on the front here. It's actually a really nice Nanocore. I've said that quite a few times. Then you have your lights, and that shows up quite nicely on a dark ship. So let me show that off. You can see like here you're getting some color changes. You're also getting color changes across the side of the ship here. On the rear half, it's a little harder to tell on the rear half, but all of these lights through here are changing color. It is also kind of changing the outline on the engine bays. So, very cool. I'm going to change this back to what I had originally. We are going with red there. I believe this one was red. I believe this one was full black. and I believe I went red on that with red lights. Okay, so that is the basic statistics of this Nanocore. If you go into the store here, you can see that you can get it for the Marshall for 2,500 Aurum with a discount coupon of 50%. It has very much the same stats across the board as what we saw on the Shanghai. A little bit higher damage numbers here, but you have the choice of missile or turret. You also get like a web of fire decrease here on this stat, so that's kind of nice. Battleships. This is where it gets really interesting on the battleships. We talked about the thermomagnetic storm core. Some ships that make the best benefit out of it are the drone ships and the Raven. So we'll start with the Rattlesnake. And already this is the best Rattlesnake core we have ever seen, at 32% drone damage as your first option. Really a lot of damage increase on drones, which is the Rattlesnake's main damage type. The first stat is kind of the same, it's shield amount, stability, capacitor. But look at these elemental damage numbers for the Rattlesnake. 17.5%. That is actually insane. I say that a lot, but this Nanocore is insane. And we haven't even got to the activatable mode yet. So 17.5% for your first elemental damage increase. You get another warp stability, another shield amount. Your next damage increase, and this is drone damage, though you can also, this is drone elemental damage, 20%. So if you're stacking these damage numbers on a drone with single damage type application, such as a guard, all of these percentage increases add together. They're not multiplicative, thank God, but they do add together. So you're getting that Rattlesnake bonus, or that Cobra bonus, of like 480% up to like 500 and something percent from the Rattlesnake itself as a drone damage increase. And then you're going to take the elemental damage of that drone and you're going to increase that by additional. You're already looking at 37% between these two damage increases on whatever drone you're looking at. Your last one here is going to be a missile torpedo bonus, so it's not very good on that last one. But you do also have your last upgrade, which is a 23.7% damage increase for your elemental drone. So now you're looking at, we were at 37.5%. Now we're at a 61.3% increase in elemental damage on top of the Rattlesnake's natural, like, 480% plus whatever its drone damage bonus is, or the Cobra's 500%. This is easily the best Rattlesnake Nanocore you will ever see. I can't really say that you will ever see. There is a theoretical possibility that we could see one better. But this is by far the best one that we have ever seen so far. Thermomagnetic Stormcore doesn't even come close. Thermomagnetic Stormcore is only about like a third of what you're getting out of this Nanocore. And this Nanocore still has the possibility of getting a gold core upgrade, which will allow you to have both that Star Melody activation and the drone damage. This thing is going to destroy in PvE and PvP. It's not as good in PvP as you might think initially, but it can still be useful. And the reason I say that is that Star Melody activation is made for PvE, it's not designed for PvP. There's still some questions I have yet to answer, and maybe there will be a few answers in the future, but currently, we have a few questions that we'll go over. The Raven. The reason I bring up the Raven is because it has been a standard for like the best PvE or content running ship that you could have, just in general. It's like the standard, and other ships could be above or below that. So you take the Raven, you have the warhead charge implant, which will give you a 400% increase in one of your missile elemental damage types, but takes away all the rest of those damage types. You get that 19% on missile torpedo damage, which is really nice for the Raven. You get warp stability, you get shield amount, and then you get that 14% to whatever damage type you want. You get another warp stability shield capacitor. You get 16% on whatever elemental damage type you want. You can see where we're going with this. And then you get like a shield booster amount or a missile torpedo flight velocity or scan resolution. Kind of nice utility here. Maybe the missile torpedo flight velocity might be really good. The shield booster would help you with survivability. Scan resolution will help you with target times. I'd probably go with the scan resolution for PvE. You don't really need the shield booster amount on the Raven unless you're running some, like, pretty hard content. And then your last upgrade here is a 19% to the elemental damage type. So, we had 400% bonus to, like, thermal damage. Then we're going to have 14% from this bonus. You're going to have a 16% from this bonus. That is already a 30% increase there on top of the 400% we had from our from our implant. And then you get another 19%. So that is 49. That is a possible of 449% elemental damage increase on missiles on the Raven, which is already like kind of a gold standard or a regular standard for what you would want in a PvE ship. That very well surpasses the capabilities of the thermomagnetic Stormcore. Not only are you safe because you have that extra warp stability, you have 5, 6, 7, 8 warp stability that you can get naturally on this Nanocore, but you also have that 49% elemental damage increase that is possible here, just making this ship an absolute beast. Other ships don't do so well with this because of their split damage types and their inability to change what damage type they're focusing on, and that's why I point out the Rattlesnake and the Raven, because they actually have a choice on what damage type they use, and thus they get the best damage types that they can use. Another ship that kinda gets a really nice bonus to that is the Pacifier. The Pacifier can run missiles, and so it can also use the 400% increase in missile elemental damage from the Warhead Charge implant. And this thing gets the same treatment. Gets that same warp stability. It gets that 14% missile turret thermal damage. 5 more warp stability. More thermal damage. Like, shield booster amount. Stasis weapon fire speed decrease. You can go with torpedoes on this thing and do really well. I think this thing can even mount like medium torpedoes, can't it? But like, there is so much utility for the Pacifier and damage to come from that. Another ship that was very viable there, I believe I saw the Vargas in here. The Vargas or the Anubis would do so well. If the Vargas core gets weapon fire speed decrease, warp scram range, unfortunate. So it's not as useful as, say, like the one with the weapon fire, but still really good. I mean, missile ships and drone ships like the Rattlesnake or the Cobra are eating good on this Nanocore. So definitely focus on those kinds of ships. Unfortunately, this is not available on ships like the Gila or other missile and drone ships. It's just not an option. It's just not there. So, buyer beware. Make sure you look at what ships are available to actually get this Nanocore. Yeah. So just pay attention, but those are the ships that I would focus on, is missile ships and drone ships. let's go ahead. We're going to undock here with my Shanghai, and we're going to look at the activatable mode, which I have uploaded a video of that mode absolutely killing in a 5 millionist lab, but I'm going to show it off quickly here in a 3 millionist encounter mission. Yeah, the only cruiser that gets it is the Enforcer. So, in here, you'll find this little box looking thing. That is your activatable Star Melody core. When we start looking at these stats, you're going to start questioning how good it is and why is this even a thing. So this is the capital ship version, and I have to be very specific. This is only the stats for the capital ships. I will show off the battleship and the frigate one in just a minute. So, Nanocore Star Melody. It has a radius of 30 kilometers that is from your ship plus 30 kilometers away. That is a 60-kilometer diameter around the ship. When you activate it, it is active for 30 seconds. It does not state it here, but I believe it's 30 seconds that it's active for. And it will apply a target flight speed within range, so anything within that 30 kilometers of your ship will have a reduced flight speed of 25%. It will have a larger inertia modifier of plus 25%, which slows ships down even further, allowing for better damage application and things like that. It then also applies a target warp disruption, not warp scram. Although I do think this actually turns off micro warp drives. I don't have a full answer on that, but I do believe this actually does turn off micro warp drives within 30 kilometers of your ship by applying 5 disruption strength. It has a maximum limit of 10 ships that it can affect, or 10 targets that it can affect. And these stats apply to Capsuleers. The one that does not apply to Capsuleers is this damage to non-Capsuleer ships per hit. This ship, the capital version of this Nanocore activation, applies 24,000 damage, flat damage, not, you cannot resist this. This ignores resistances. This is a flat damage of 24,000 damage per hit every 3 seconds for 30 seconds. That is 10 activations. That is 240,000 damage for over the course of 30 seconds. That is enough to kill all battleships, all sub-capital ships in general. So, battleships, battle cruisers, cruisers, destroyers, frigates, fighters, heavy fighters, I believe it can actually kill outright. Lightweight ships it can kill. and lightweight battlecruisers and cruisers. This thing wipes everything out that is non-Capsuleer. On my channel, I uploaded a 2-minute video of me turning off. It is non-resistant. So, maybe the Nestor could tank that if it can heal fast enough. It's a possibility. But if it's not healing and it cannot heal fast enough, it doesn't matter if you activate Sleeper. Sleeper won't affect the damage that this does to you. This is a flat damage done. Resistances mean nothing. This ignores resistances. But it cannot affect player ships. So that's the bright side. It's not completely broken, but it cannot be used to kill player ships. It can be used to disrupt them, it can be used to slow them down, but it cannot be used to kill them. This will apply a flight speed decrease to the player that activates this mode of minus 50%. And it will make you unable to warp, and you cannot cloak while activating the mode. That's a lot to cover, but let me go ahead and bring up the battleship and frigate versions of this. So on your screen, on what you're seeing right now, is the battleship stats on the left and the frigate stats that I brought up in the middle here, and my capital ship stats on the right. So over here is the capital ship, in the middle here is the Nanocore for the Pacifier in particular, and on the left is the Raven Nanocore's activation mode, which is for all battleships. So battleships have a 15-kilometer range around them. They still apply that inertia and flight speed decrease and increase. They apply 2 warp disruption. They can affect 10 targets. They do 8,000 damage every 3 seconds for 30 seconds. They have a flight speed decrease to themselves of 50%. They are unable to warp when active and unable to decloak, or unable to cloak while activating it. This one is not as deadly as the capital ship, but you're still looking at 80,000 damage being done over the course of 30 seconds. Flat damage. This is enough to break most tanks if you also include the damage from whatever ship you're flying as well. But there are very few PvE enemies that can tank this level of damage. 80,000 damage is enough to kill, I think, most, like, low-end battlecruisers, all cruisers, all destroyers, and all frigates, and fighters, and some lightweight ships, some, like, individual heavy fighters. I don't think it'll kill a whole fleet, but that's pretty good damage. The frigate one is a little bit scary. So, the frigate version has a 10-kilometer range around the frigate, same flight speed decrease, 2 warp disruption strength, 5 targets instead of 10, 2,000 damage every 3 seconds for 30 seconds. Like I said, that's like 10 activations. That is 20,000 damage. That's enough to kill most frigates and some destroyers. But not really enough to be considered overpowered. But it would help you kill like a battleship in a PvE environment if you needed to, or a battle cruiser, and just kill them a little bit quicker. You're still gonna have that like 300-second downtime. So yeah, just consider that when you are looking at what Nanocore you want. Of course, the capital ship is going to be your best one. But dang. So let's go ahead and show that off really quick here. I do have a 3 million-isk mission. Let me just see if maybe I can get a lab, because that would be a lot better to try to show that off with. No, unfortunately no lab, but that's okay. It'll still look pretty good
Autopilot engaged.
in a 3 million-isk mission, just wiping a couple of waves. So, depending on the amount of targets that are in whatever wave or encounter that you're flying in, you could actually kill multiple waves of enemies, before this timer runs out. Yeah, I mean,
Warp drive active.
what destroyers actually get only the Allegiance gets the Star Melody Core. Only the Allegiance.
Destination reached.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and go to the anomaly here. Let me blank out my screen real quick so I can check these messages.
Warp drive active.
Alright, we're back. Alright. Man, when you see what this nanocore is capable of, you are going to have a fit. So I'm going to zoom out here. I'm also going to turn off my auto target and my auto attack. So we have 5 targets in this wave. We should, theoretically, be able to kill this wave and the next wave with no problem. So let me go ahead and activate it. It's going to instantly kill all the frigates and the cruiser. It killed the battlecruiser. And we might not actually be able to kill the next wave, but we'll get the first part of it.
Enemy ships detected.
And here's the next wave, and just as they are coming in, they are all dead. So now we have that 300 second downtime. So you've just witnessed me kill quite a few enemies in a short amount of time, but I wasn't even showcasing like the max amount of targets being killed at one time. This nanocore will kill 10 things at a time, and when one thing dies, another target can take that empty spot, and it will just continuously deal damage until it runs out of time. And that is how all of the
Enemy ships detected.
Nanocore activations will work.
We're under attack.
It would clear this entire wave with one activation, no problem. It was able to clear, I believe it was like 95% of a 5 million ISK laboratory mission wave, the last wave, which is on my channel. It is a 2-minute video that I recently uploaded. So have a look at that if you are needing more evidence of why to have one of these nanocores. So with that being said, thank you all so much for joining me today. I just wanted to get a quick review out on this nanocore so that way you guys have the same information that I do currently. And you can make a better informed decision. Because currently this nanocore does not have an AI or gold nanocore upgrade, although I do believe that when the event ends, it's likely we will have access to that. So thank you all so much for joining me. I will have another stream later today, but for now, I am going to go and watch another thing. Thank you all so much, and I will see you on the next one. Take care, and be safe.